How to start? I'm hungry. I should get coffee. Coffee would help me think. But I should write something first, then reward myself with coffee. Coffee and a muffin. Okay, so I need to establish the themes. Maybe banana nut. That's a good muffin.
Okay, record go.
Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Wait, You Haven't Seen? It's a show where we talk about movies. Specifically, we talk about a movie at least one of us had never seen before. I'm your host, Travis, a.k.a. TV's Travis. This is episode number 382, and it is the kickoff to Cage-A-Palooza 2026, the 8th annual Cage-A-Palooza on this show. And here to talk with me about a movie that neither one of us had seen, it is Jared. Jared, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Travis. So you've done Cage-A-Palooza 8 years running, and you're still encountering Nicolas Cage movies that you have never seen before. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it really is happening. And I didn't mention the title of the movie, but the movie that we watched was from 2002 was Adaptation. And no, Cage is the gift that keeps on giving. And he has had such a prolific career that there's just always going to be something new. It's great. So Adaptation, we talked back and forth about what movie to do, threw out some ideas here and there, and we settled on Adaptation. What is your history with this movie prior to watching it for the show?
Sure. Yeah. Well, true to the format of the show, I had never seen it before. It's one of those that sort of looms large, like Charlie Kaufman as an auteur, as a writer, and now a director. He's one of those figures where it doesn't shock me to learn when he is someone's very favorite screenwriter or very favorite director, right? So it's one of those. He's one of those guys where it's like, yeah, I was always going to watch this movie eventually.
Sure.
I've actually also not seen Being John Malkovich, but I'm going to go back to it pretty soon. But Eternal Sunshine, obviously is a great one. I'm a big fan of his movie Anomalisa.
Okay.
That
I have not seen that
from
one.
I think it's from 2018, 2019. It's sort of got a claymation or stop motion animation feel to it, but otherwise feels very much like a Charlie Kaufman movie.
Okay.
And then I've seen I'm thinking of Ending Things from like pandemic times on Netflix,
right.
but for whatever reason I'd never watched the first couple huge breakthrough movies of his. And actually, like my very best friend, this is one of her very favorite movies, and it's something that she's been bugging me to watch for like 20 years now. And so, she won't be happy to learn that my friendly internet acquaintance convinced me to watch it in like minutes.
Right. Well, I won't lord that over if I ever do meet that person. I will be nice about it. But I kind of have a similar trajectory with this particular movie. Now, I did see Being John Malkovich. I actually saw Being John Malkovich in the theater because I have been a huge both John Malkovich and why am I blanking on the name all of a sudden? What is wrong?
Spike Jonze, Charlie Kaufman.
Actually, Spike Jonze. Yes, Spike Jonze fan. Because I had watched. I'd seen him do stuff with Jackass, but also he directed one of my favorite music videos of all time, which is Beastie Boys' "Sabotage." And then John Cusack as well. I was a big fan of Cusack and Malkovich, and then I was like, "Whoa, the guy that made Sabotage is doing a movie with those two? All right," and I went and saw that, and I walked out of that theater, all of us did, with like, that was the coolest thing we've ever seen. We have no idea what the hell happened. Like, because it was just so bizarre, but I latched on immediately. This movie, however, just happened to hit, and I didn't see it, and then it was just kind of out of sight, out of mind for a while. And then I would hear about it a lot. Yeah. And then when I really started getting into, following Nic Cage and his career, this was always one that popped up, and you would hear about it, but I never got around to watching it. Then when I started doing the podcast and I started doing the Cage month every year, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to save it for when I can do it for the show. But then, of course, you would hear about it. And this is one that was just all over, like a lot of movies you've got to watch type lists. And so it was really fun to watch this. I got to say, straight off the bat, the cast in this blew me away. I don't know about you, but
yeah, Chris Cooper in particular. I mean, odd to say in a movie that features not one but two great Nicolas Cage performances,
right?
And also has Meryl Streep in a starring role, but Chris Cooper in this, it just kind of opened my eyes to why people hold Chris Cooper in such high regard. Like I've seen him here and there in some movies, but like, man, he is just like thoroughly entertaining and just like complete in this movie as that wackadoo character.
He is. Now, funny thing I learned while reading about this movie was, so he won the 2003 Oscar for Best Actor in a Supporting Role for this movie, which totally get it, earned it. But the thing that surprised me was this was his first nomination for an acting role, and he won it. And I would have sworn that he got nominated for American Beauty, because I remember seeing American Beauty thinking, that dude is really good, to the point that when I saw that he was going to be in The Bourne Identity, I was like, oh, that guy from American Beauty that was just like killer as the neighbor. All right.
Yeah.
But this was the one that got him his Academy Award, and his first nomination though. That's what blew me away.
Yeah.
But this movie got nominated for Meryl Streep got nominated, Cooper got nominated one, and Cage got nominated for this movie, and all three of them are amazing in the four roles that they played. Just phenomenal. I actually love the fact that they don't credit Nicolas Cage as like Charlie Kaufman / Donald Kaufman. It's two separate credits. I thought that was kind of neat the way they did it, because they did it in order of appearance. And did you know that he was playing two roles going into this?
No.
Okay.
I didn't know much about this movie other than it was Charlie Kaufman writing about himself writing this movie. That's really all I knew about going in. I didn't know anything about the Orchid Thief or anything about the like actual adaptation. When I was watching it, I didn't even know that the Orchid Thief was a real book. But yeah, I had no idea about the twin characters, the Nicolas Cage dual role, and I have a lot to say about that. Maybe not right away, but was delighted when that first revealed itself just a few minutes into the movie.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that I had seen somewhere like a still frame of Cage playing the dual roles, and maybe saw it like on a, I don't know, listicle article or a video or something that he played. I knew he played Charlie, and I swear I saw something about him playing like a twin, but that was it. I was like you. I didn't know what this story was going to be about, or the fact that it was sort of this interesting life imitating art, imitating life, Ouroboros type of thing, which I thought was great to use that imagery and that terminology within the movie.
And what a great line, Charlie muttering to himself, Ouroboros, and Donald saying, what? Ouroboros, it's the name of the snake. No, I don't think that's right. And then just keeps going, and Charlie is just so fed up with his brother not being nearly as erudite as he is.
Yes.
He just lets it go.
Yeah. So we mentioned the three leads, and I want to come back to each of them and what they did in this movie, but I've got to talk about some of these other just cameos and supporting characters that popped up throughout, because we start off with Tilda Swinton in the first scene.
Yeah.
And I will say, after that first scene, I thought that character would be more involved in the movie somehow. Like, every time this movie took a turn, it was in a direction I wasn't ready for, and it didn't do anything that I expected, which was incredible. But I mean, Tilda Swinton for the brief time that she's on screen, amazing as always. I actually thought her second appearance later on was one of my favorite moments, because here's Charlie like trying to get his takeout food, and he notices her like, oh no, and then gets drawn in, and it's like, oh dear.
Gets to escape before Susan comes back from her phone call.
Yep.
Yeah, so much tension in that 30 seconds.
Oh, I know. But Tilda Swinton, the ranger that pops up. So one of the things this movie did, And I love it, but I can understand where if you watch this, this is not a modern day second screen type of movie. You have to be paying attention to it.
Oh, yeah.
Because early in the movie, it establishes that there are varying timelines at play, but it does it once. It shows you a slug one time to say like 3 years earlier or 6 months earlier or whatever it is, and then never again. And you just have to pick up on the context clues.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, that was a must have been a very deliberate choice because the screenplay has all the slugs. The screenplay is constantly being like title 3 years later, title 3 years before, so on and so forth. So there's a little bit of a additional bit of intentional disorientation going on in the movie,
which I liked. Once I figured it out that that's what was happening, I enjoyed that part of it because now it drew me in. It made me pay attention to it. And I think also for me as an audience member, that tells me that the movie respects me to watch it and pay attention to it. It's not going to spoon feed me a bunch of stuff, which was really cool. So the flashback to 3 years earlier is, you mentioned it already, but the basis of this movie is Charlie Kaufman writing the script for an adaptation of the book The Orchid Thief by Susan Orlean, a real book based on a real New Yorker article.
I read it this week, by the way.
Oh yeah,
so pick my brain. There's not much to say that isn't in the movie, to be honest. But yeah, I got so deep. Like I don't like watching a movie without becoming obsessed with it.
Sure,
which
this is the perfect movie for that.
Kind of a theme of the movie, yeah. But so yeah, I read the book, which is very brief. I read the screenplay, which I already said, and watched the movie a couple times. So yeah, I had not seen it before this week, but boy, have I seen it now.
So is the book then? Because my guess is based on kind of the way this played out, that feels like one of those unfilmable books where it's not really a movie, in a book. It's not a narrative that you're going to convert into a movie. So why it got optioned in the first place kind of baffles me, but that does feel like this is popular. Let's just buy the option for it right away.
Some movie executive later to be played by Tilda Swinton really loved it, I guess. Actually loved the New Yorker article, optioned the New Yorker article, and then the book was written almost simultaneously with the screenplay. Like the screenplay was like the screenplay was started before the book was finished, and then the book was published, the screenplay kept going. Which is also kind of clear in the movie.
Yeah.
If you take what happens on screen as what happened in real life. But yeah, it's just like the movie says. I mean, there isn't a real strong narrative, like really, and that's the point. Like it starts off, you get to know this character of John LaRoche, and he's this funny, eccentric, weird, magnetic guy. And then the two of them sort of, they don't have a falling out, but they really stop corresponding so much. And then the book sort of trickles off. She really wants to see this ghost orchid, and she doesn't. And that's sort of like, that's the book. Like it doesn't tie everything up. It doesn't give you the catharsis, oh, she finally got to see this ghost orchid. It just sort of patters off, and that's kind of the point. And like she'll never get close to the level of passion that John has for this thing, and she'll never even get a shot at understanding why he was so passionate about this one thing. And the movie totally covers that. And then what we get in the movie instead is a genius, and we'll get to that later, I'm sure.
Yeah. So we're there with Charlie, and he's dealing with his writer's block, and he can't come up with what he wants to write. And then we get him sort of, it's almost like he's reading the book, and we're diving into his mind of he's now thinking about, and he's reading the book. So we go 3 years earlier, and now it's her writing it and meeting with John, played by Chris Cooper. When we meet him, he's out in like the swamps going after flowers with a bunch of Seminole natives, and that was great. But the ranger that came up is played by Jim Beaver, and a lot of people know him from, if you watch Supernatural, he was in that forever. I never saw that, but the thing that I remember him from, because again, it's me and my brain is weird, is he was on one episode of Psych years ago, and he played a character named Stinky Pete because it was where Sean and Gus go to an old west town, almost like a amusement park type town, and he's playing the character of Stinky Pete, and it just, for whatever reason, I just remember him, and so every time I see his face, that's all I can think of.
There he is, Stinky Pete.
There's
a guy I went to high school with who we called Stinky Pete, and he was not named Pete, but his nickname somehow became Stinky Pete. You can maybe start to guess why.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there.
A couple other names that popped up. Stephen Tobolowsky is in the end credits, but he doesn't show up anywhere in the movie because his scenes were deleted. And that threw me off because his name popped up and I'm like, there is no way that I miss Needle-Nose Ned Ryerson in this movie. And sure enough, I didn't.
Yeah.
He was in there because there was a few of those like scenes deleted. It was him and actually Susan Orlean, the author of the original book, had a scene in the movie that they cut. So,
interesting. I wonder if he was playing another one of the sort of orchid hunter guys that she grew close with other than John.
He was another ranger in the credits. He was Ranger Neely. So I don't know where that scene would have fallen. But
yeah.
Doug Jones is in this movie.
Oh, yeah. Where is he in the movie?
He was in the flashback. So when they're talking initially about orchids, and I think this is when Susan is sort of narrating her own book, right, and talking about the history of orchids. There's a character of Augustus Margery.
Oh, yeah, he's the guy that gets killed after braving the swamp.
Yep.
And almost dying of dysentery, and then gets stabbed to death immediately upon leaving the swamp with the orchid.
Yep, and that was
Doug Jones.
That was Doug Jones, which I love.
Wow.
I love that. Anytime you can see Doug Jones in a movie.
Well, it's so exceptionally rare to see Doug Jones playing just a guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's not in
he wasn't
85 pounds of makeup.
Yeah, he wasn't any sort of monster or, apparition of any sort. Right? He's just, that's probably why I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, you're not used to that. The other two were Judy Greer popping up. That was fun. That was a scene that confused me at first because the way it plays out, being it goes from sort of reality to dream sequence back to reality, and I didn't catch on, but that's what this movie does, which I think is brilliant. It just plops you in something, and then you have to sort of figure it out post hoc. So I liked that, but she was great for her small role. The moment where he starts to ask her to come with him to the orchid show.
Yeah.
That's some good acting. God. Where she just immediately like changes, and it's could you take this guy as pie? He's creeping me out now.
Yeah, and it's devastating. Like, poor guy, you're like thinking, oh, he's not going to be brave enough to shoot his shot, and then he does and gets absolutely punished for it.
Ooh.
Just poor guy.
And then the last one was, and it's a blink and you miss it moment, but his in the scene with LaRoche where he's on trial, he's in the courtroom. It's where we kind of, not the first time we meet him, but it's where he's talking about, oh, I'm the smartest guy I know and all this sort of stuff. His defense attorney is played by Peter Jason. And Peter Jason, I love he was in a bunch of John Carpenter movies like Prince of Darkness and a bunch of other things. He's just a great, fun character actor. And I think he says like 2 words, but I recognize him right away. He was my Leo pointing at the screen whistling like, I know that guy. Was Peter Jason.
That's awesome. Yeah, like the pedigree of the cast obviously runs very deep beyond the megastars in the leads, and that's it's always so delightful to see when you got all of these legendary character actors kind of really populating a movie and making the world feel full and real and everything. That's always it's always a delight.
It is, and I wonder how much of that is like Spike Jonze as a director, sort of an actor's director, right? Like he's that. You always hear about those musicians, where it's like the band that all your favorite bands listen to. And I feel like that happens in film too, where you get those directors that actors just want to work with.
Yeah. And we haven't even mentioned Brian Cox yet.
Oh, right. Yes, Brian Cox was
playing the real
phenomenal.
Robert McKee.
Yes. And apparently Robert McKee suggested Brian Cox to play him. And if you've seen pictures of Robert McKee, you would understand why.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen I've heard lectures by him. I mean, I definitely went through this phase where I read, I think, Story and one other of his books when I was had it in my head that I might be able to write a screenplay someday. That was years ago, but I definitely read those books the same way that Donald is in the movie. And they that's great that he kind of gave that blessing, suggested Brian Cox, because he comes away from the movie looking really good.
Yes,
Robert McKee does.
Oh,
yeah, he really
much.
kind of turns things around for both brothers, and his scene is wonderful and has a sort of warmth to it that you're not expecting from the lecture hall, and also from just Brian Cox and his whole vibe and what we know about him as an actor.
Yeah,
the fact that he lets the hug happen, and he really takes the time to have a beer with this this struggling guy.
That was such a wonderful scene, because once again, it was a turn the movie took that I didn't see coming. Like I saw, because you're right. Charlie breaks down, goes to the lecture. He doesn't want to be there, and then he gets yelled at.
Yep.
But it's that was what he needed to hear in that moment, to then talk to him and have the nerve to talk to McKee, who then's like, let's go get a drink. And just, you're right, warmth is the perfect word for it. And Brian Cox is such an intense actor that him showing that kind of warmth and being like, yeah, you can do this. Just here's what you need to do. Here are some tips. And I adored that moment. It was so good.
Yeah. Well, and the way Nic Cage plays it is so damn just endearing too, because he gives that whole speech where he's like, "I'll tell you a secret. It's the last act that makes the film. If you wow them in the end, it doesn't matter if you make mistakes throughout. Just find that ending, but don't do a Deus Ex Machina. The characters have to find the change in themselves." And he says, "If you do that, you'll be fine." And then Charlie's like, "You promise?" And it's so sweet. He turns into a little boy in front of this man, and he's just like, "You promise?" Oh, it gets me. Yeah.
So, okay, Nicolas Cage. Let's talk about the man that spawned an entire series for me. There are two types of Nicolas Cage performances. He came to work and he's bringing it, and he is making his choices, and he's doing something really interesting. And then there is, he came to work, he is making some choices, and he's getting paid. And I don't begrudge any of that, because I don't think he ever phones it in. Those choices don't always work. I watched a movie just recently that was fairly new. I did for a guest spot on another show called Gunslingers, and I don't know what he was deciding to do there, but it didn't work. However, it was also, I couldn't look away from it at the same time.
Yeah.
But this is the case. I understand why he got nominated for the Academy Award for this role. Funny that his 2 Academy Award nominations were for Best Actor were both him playing screenwriters. Because his other one was for Leaving Las Vegas, and he was a screenwriter in that.
Yeah.
But this is on that level of acting from him, right? I feel like, because Leaving Las Vegas, he was phenomenal in it. I don't really want to watch that movie again, but that's more so for just the heavy nature of the subject matter than anything else. But he's so good in that, and he's so good here as Charlie Kaufman. And then to also play the twin brother Donald Kaufman, a character invented for this story, which I think is brilliant. There's just something about him as these 2 different but very similar guys that I just could not stop with. Like, it was even down to just the hair and makeup and how the fat suit he was wearing, which is really funny that he keeps calling himself fat and all this. And then the one scene where he's not wearing a shirt, he looks fine. He looks like
I know.
Late 40s Nic Cage.
Yeah, it's almost like it's just in his head. He's not that fat. He's not that bald. And it's funny. It's just like people keep saying that out loud to him, because it's probably just his inner voice speaking to him, which, I mean, of course it is, because Charlie Kaufman wrote every character. But it's just, that's always kind of funny. And especially at the end when after John gets, eaten by the alligators, and Susan is yelling at him, and she's like, "You ruined my life, you fat fuck, you fat fuck." Yeah. We got to talk about the dual performance some more though, because even just from like a technical perspective, like having to play your own foil, like
Yeah.
doing the oldest trick in the book, the composite shots. You keep the background static so you can have the same actor in there twice and then layer them. I mean, just the way he plays off of his own performance must have been sort of like it must have been very meticulous as far as shooting portions of the scene, going back, kind of looking at the daily, shooting the other part of the scene, and like making sure that that sort of naturalism is there, and it totally is every single time,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. But I have to bring up something that I think is abundantly clear in this movie. Are you at all familiar with the play True West by Sam Shepard?
I am not familiar with that one. I've
Okay,
maybe heard the title at some point, but
indulge me. I gotta give a little bit
absolutely.
of a diatribe. So, True West is this play from the late '70s or early '80s by Sam Shepard, a brilliant screenwriter, brilliant playwright, brilliant actor. He wrote Paris, Texas.
Hmm.
He was a prolific writer and actor.
Oh yeah, I love
But
Sam Shepard.
True West is one of my favorite of his plays.
Okay.
It's about two brothers. One of them is this very sort of neurotic but put together, smart, fairly accomplished screenwriter on the rise. And the other brother is this like sort of charismatic, not nearly as educated, but much more magnetic and sort of like rough around the edges guy who wants to be a screenwriter. And over the course of the play, they're both house sitting for their mom's house. They haven't seen each other in a long time, and they're in this house together. The one brother has writer's block. He's like he owes this Hollywood executive a screenplay, and he's having the hardest time cracking it. Meanwhile, his sort of idiot brother is just crushing his own screenplay, sells it, and over the course of the play, they sort of like meld together into one guy,
Hmm.
and they sort of like cross into the other person's craziness. So like by the end, the very like put together brother is now just out of his mind. The very like rough around the edges brother is now this like sort of sophisticated screenwriter. And anyway, if that sounds familiar at all,
A little bit. A
um,
little bit.
I'll kind of get to like the real linchpin here, though, is this play is oftentimes you'll cast two guys and then they'll switch roles
Yeah.
from one night to the next. So, like famously, Philip Seymour Hoffman and John C. Reilly played these roles in like the 2000s. They were both nominated for Tony Awards for it, and they famously rejected their nomination, saying that they should be nominated together as one performance. The original cast of this play in the early 80s at the Steppenwolf Theater Company was Gary Sinise and, wait for it, John Malkovich.
Oh wow.
And I am absolutely certain that in his deep dive into John Malkovich as a person, as an actor, Charlie Kaufman must have just like become obsessed with True West, because this movie is like clearly a take on True West.
Yes. That is phenomenal. That is such a fun piece of trivia to this movie because you can see that connective tissue because you're explaining this play of True West. It is so much of what we watched in Adaptation, but the fact that it was
Yeah.
Malkovich and Sinise, first of all, Malkovich and Sinise, like that's a hell of a combo.
Oh yeah. Don't even get me started on Philip Seymour Hoffman and John C. Reilly.
Oh, I know. But that's a cool idea too, as a production, to have one actor play one character and one actor play the other, and then the next night swap the roles
Yeah.
in the way to do it. That's a really cool way.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. You could never have one guy play both characters at the same time on stage, but that's the magic of the movies, baby. You get Nicolas Cage as both.
So I do want to talk about the technical aspects of, they did do, this is 2002, so you're right. They did the split screen type of shots, and they were all locked off. But I got to say, I bought every single one of them. At no point did I think that's what I was watching. I was just watching two performances at the same time. They did such a good job of doing that. And sometimes you can find the seams, so to speak, not just visually, but sometimes like pacing wise in a scene where you can tell like somebody has to wait, and they just did such a good job. There again, I think is that Spike Jonze kind of meticulous nature of doing something, because I think he gets very meticulous with stuff. It was great. It was awesome. And they're two, like I said earlier, they're very similar but different characters too, which I think works so well. And Cage gets to play around a little bit with how they're done, which I thought was a lot of fun. I loved Donald. I thought he was just a hoot. Like,
yeah, and he doesn't let anything bother him. He's always just so positive. He just loves his brother.
Mm-hmm.
He looks up to Charles so much. And even when Charles is I love how he calls him Charles, by the way, not Charlie.
Yes, he's the only one that calls him Charles too.
Yeah,
I think at the end his mom does on the phone. That
right.
Might be
there's a sort of reverence to calling him by his full name like that. Mm-hmm. And even when Charlie is, being kind of disrespectful to him, shrugging him off, belittling him and his what he wants to do with his screenplay and everything, Donald never lets that actually affect him or like get him down on himself or on his brother. And he's just like, so he's like living the dream. He's playing Boggle with Catherine Keener. He's about to make $1 million for a screenplay that he wrote in like a few weeks. And his brother is like, hey, do you want to come to New York right now and help me? And he's like, yes, I'll be right there. And he just shows up like, oh, what a great character. Just like the exact brother anyone would want.
Yeah, and he's the perfect foil for Charlie because Charlie spends the whole movie like down on himself. And he's so worried. Everyone loves Charlie, but he thinks everyone's going to hate him. And so by that projection of that, it becomes the self-loathing. And then he like when we meet him in the beginning of the movie, he's sitting at a table with Tilda Swinton's character, just flop sweat and worried so much about everything she's going to think about him. And she is just like, I loved your last script. I like this book. I think you should write the script. You should adapt this book for us.
Yeah.
And I loved all of that. But the interplay between the brothers is perfect. It's so well done.
I do wonder if he was writing this in real life, if he was writing this before Being John Malkovich came out, like he was in the movie. Like, I think that's really the only time the story can be told is like, so, these executives, they know his Being John Malkovich script is great.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so they're going to be after him to write something else soon. And, but once that movie came out and it was like this huge critically lauded thing and everyone was calling him a genius, then this movie doesn't really work. Like, it has to be in that sort of Goldilocks position of he's already written Being John Malkovich, but it hasn't quite taken the world by storm yet, while he's like still suffering from this what's it called, imposter syndrome that he has.
Just crushing imposter syndrome. And you're right, and I think it was because I think that script had been sold, and so then it was, well, we want you to do this one. And first of all, adaptation, what I like about that as a title is there are different forms of it throughout the story. And I talk a lot about adapting stories to different mediums and how difficult that can be. And to take something like The Orchid Thief, I haven't read it, but based on what I know from reading about it and this movie, it feels like one of those just impossible tasks. Like to take that kind of thing. It's sort of like, have you ever read the book House of Leaves? Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah.
So that's like, it would be like somebody handing you that and saying, here, make this into a screenplay. I would just,
people have tried.
I know. And, oh boy, I don't envy that task at all. So like, I love that aspect of adaptation is taking the story and making it into something else. But then you have the adaptation of the people in this and how they're adapting to their environment and they're adapting to the changing story that goes on. And then how the story itself adapts throughout.
And they also talk about adaptation in terms of like Darwin and survival of the fittest. Like, I must have mutated, that's why I'm so smart. I must have mutated as a baby. They talk about at length in the book and here and there in the screenplay about that's what makes lotus flowers so unique and infinitely collectible. Is their adaptation, their evolution has been like so granular, like this one specific type of lotus adapted to this one specific spot in this one specific swamp in this one specific part of Florida.
Yep.
That's what makes them beautiful and unique and everything.
Yeah, and they adapt to like
just
the
I love the
specific
layers.
pollinator and all of that, and just like
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. And I also love again how the story adapts, and we get when Donald goes to New York. So this is basically the turning point in the story is Charlie and McKee. And then Donald shows up, and now all of a sudden everything changes, and it becomes a Donald script, and it's Donald's story now, and we're hearing his voice basically, and it was
genius.
Is brilliant, and it took me a couple of minutes, and at some point I clocked. I'm like, oh, we're now doing all of the tropes. We're doing all of the things that Donald put in his script, The Three, which that one kept reminding me somewhat of like. And I saw it in the trivia, like David Fincher movies, right? There's a little Seven in there. There's a little like Fight Club
3.
in there.
Yeah.
I was also reminded of a John Cusack movie, in fact, Identity, that I've talked about on this show that I love. James Mangold movie.
Dude, Identity is getting a limited edition Arrow 4K release in a month or two here.
I'm going to have to buy that. That is...
Yeah, same.
I love that movie.
Me too.
And but I just love how like all of those tropes and the things that Donald was talking about throughout the whole first 2/3 of this movie, and then for the movie to start doing those things again, it's the brilliance of this script from Kaufman and then Jones and his directing.
Yeah. And it's all the things that Charlie says he won't do at the beginning.
Exactly.
When he's listing off all the things to the Tilda Swinton character, he goes, I don't want there to be this torrid love affair or drugs. Like, a bad movie would make them turn the flowers into drugs, and that's a whole thing. I don't want guns and car chases. And then, of course, that's how he lands the whole plane well in the third act per McKee's advice. Yeah.
Yep. But also at the same time with this wonderful, both maudlin and yet this like really touching, heartfelt moment between the two brothers as they're hiding in the swamp. And I loved that moment was what 100% sealed this up as like, this is just great. Because it was so good. And that took it to a different level for me because you've got Charlie is telling, I love the line, and I captured it, but I loved, because I got some audio. I'm going to play this one. This one I think is a little bit long, so bear with me on that.
I admire you, Donald, I spent my whole life paralyzed, worrying about what people think of me. And you're just oblivious. I'm not oblivious. No, you don't understand. I mean that as a compliment.
It's that idea that, like, Charlie just, he knows that Donald doesn't understand what's going on around him, but he admires that about him. And then for Donald to be like, oh no, I know. I just don't let it bother me is such a good, it's just the perfect way for that character to go. It's so much better than him actually being completely oblivious of what's happening around him.
Yeah, he says that lovely thing when he brings up the moment. And actually, now that we talked about it, it sort of mirrors the moment in the diner with Judy Greer and her coworker sort of like being creeped out by Charlie. But he talks about how when, the girl in high school that Donald loved and he kind of shot his shot and then he walked away and the girls were making fun of him. He's like, no, I knew that. Like why didn't I let it bother you? It's like, because I loved her. Like she couldn't take that from me. She didn't have to love me.
Yeah.
I loved her. And there's nothing, no one could take that from me. And he says, yeah, it's not about it's not about who loves you. It's about who you love or something like that. And it was just like, oh yeah, that character's whole ethos is just something that many of us should strive for.
Yeah. And it's the way to do the like, I loved her. She can't take that away from me. But he does it in a way that is not at all creepy or like self-serving. It is. He has that, he holds it, but he's not going to force that on anyone either. If she doesn't want any part of that, okay, I'm gonna hold that piece of me and just move on, and he can just go and adapt. Donald is infinitely adaptable to his surroundings. So
he's an orchid.
He is. But that whole moment, and then for it to just fade to black, and they wake up the next morning, and they're huddled together, and all I could think of was like, huh, okay, so nothing happened the rest of that night. Cool. But again, it was the movie just going in a direction I wasn't ready for. Like, you're building up to this big climax, and then we get this heartfelt moment, and then we don't have it. But wait, we did. So it was, so many times in this movie where I'm reeling from the direction that it changes me in. Loved it. I loved it so much. I keep saying that, but it's hard for me to say anything really bad about this. There's nothing. This is such a well-written script, and it makes sense that it was a Charlie Kaufman script, right? After, if I think about Eternal Sunshine and I think about Being John Malkovich, I do want to catch some of the newer ones that you mentioned earlier because I have not seen those.
Anomalisa is still, I think, my favorite of his movies. And, some people find it a little navel-gazy or a little tropey, but I think it has a brilliant conceit right in the middle of it that it doesn't wallop you in the head with right away. But like when you notice it, you notice it. And then the movie really opens up. And it's also, this kind of lonely thing and, about this guy who's having trouble relating to others in the world around him and how that might change for him. Yeah.
And that's a thing about Charlie that I could identify with was the worry and that imposter syndrome and that whole thing of like, I don't know what other people are thinking about me, and do they not like what I'm doing or whatever. I used to struggle with that so much worse than I do now even.
Yeah.
But I feel like Charlie Kaufman does this thing, and then Spike Jonze too, and the combination of those two, where it's my kind of weird. It's that weird, and you don't quite grasp exactly what's happening at any given point. But by the end of it, you're sort of if you've bought in and go along for the ride, by the end of it, you're just like, that was something really transformative. Because Being John Malkovich does that. Like, it's such a weird concept and conceit in that movie of this half a floor in a building that has a door that goes into the mind of John Malkovich.
Yeah.
But only
I can't
for
wait
15
to watch
minutes.
I've already picked up the Criterion. I'm going to watch it like this week, I think.
Awesome. You'll have to let me know what you think because I'm really curious. But like Kaufman does that. It's why it's funny that I've said many, many times that like David Lynch is somebody that I didn't appreciate when I was younger, but I came to appreciate him later on. And now I love watching his stuff. But yet Charlie Kaufman, I see Being John Malkovich in 99 when it comes out, and I latch onto it immediately. So
yeah,
it's kind of funny how that can work for us. But like he just does these, it's just that kind of left of center weird. And it was then the narration popping into this movie and our main character like talking to himself and trying to talk himself out of the voiceover, but then being like, nah, you know what, it works. It feels right. And he's doing all of the things he said he didn't want to do, but he's doing them. I don't know. It just the way it all structured out and the way it all came out was wonderful.
One of the most hilarious moments in the movie is when he's doing some voiceover and he's sort of, the voiceover is happening over McKee's lecture, and McKee's like, whatever you do, don't do voiceover.
Oh,
like that's a flaccid choice for a writer or something.
I captured that. It's too good not to.
I'll start over. I need to face this project head on.
And God help you if you use voiceover in your work, my friends. God help you. It's flaccid, sloppy writing.
Flaccid, sloppy writing. I love it.
That is such a visceral description of bad writing, and I absolutely adore it. Flaccid, sloppy writing. And again, it's Brian Cox, and he's just like yelling it at people. It's wonderful. But yeah, to interrupt the voiceover with that, I did find it funny that where did I put that? McKee actually went on to say in later like seminars and stuff that voiceover can be fine. I think the way he actually worded it was voiceover is fine despite what Charlie Kaufman might say if done correctly. But I think he was sort of agreeing with like, because the way Kaufman uses it here and the way that he's talking about it is it can't just be explaining what you're seeing. voiceover works when it is giving you something insightful into your character's head. It's why I don't love the voiceover in, say, the first cut of Blade Runner, or the theatrical cut of Dark City has a voiceover at the beginning of it. Those don't work for me because they're not giving you insight into the character and new information. They're just exposition dump and explaining what's happening on screen. Very differently from your old hard-boiled detective kind of Dresden Files or Sam Spade voiceover that's taking you into their mind. But yeah, the line for the voiceover, I loved that. Everything with Brian Cox, everything he did in his short amount of time on screen was just wonderful.
He's excellent. He's one of the best.
By the way, Cage got nominated, and I did find this interesting. He was the 6th actor to get an Oscar nomination for playing multiple characters in the same movie.
Okay. Did anyone win before Michael B. Jordan last year? Or I guess earlier this year?
So let's see. We had Charlie Chaplin, played 2 characters in The Great Dictator back in 1940, got nominated, did not win. Jose Ferrer in 1952's Moulin Rouge. Peter Sellers played multiple characters in Dr. Strangelove. Lee Marvin in Cat Ballou, 1965, and Klaus Maria Brandauer in Out of Africa in 1985. Of the 6, until Michael B. Jordan won for Sinners, Lee Marvin was the only one to win. So
interesting.
And then Nic Cage. But yeah, so Lee Marvin was the first one, and then Michael B. Jordan, which, I mean, he deserved every bit of that one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it.
What was I going to say? I don't remember now. We had a bunch of Oscar winners in this. We've mentioned it in the cast, but Cage, Streep, Chris Cooper, Tilda Swinton. A cameo. I forgot to mention this cameo. Curtis Hanson is one of the plays Meryl Streep's husband in this.
Oh yeah, he's like Barrett. Does he even speak in the movie?
He
has the one scene at dinner. The one scene at dinner with all of her friends. Yeah.
And one of those friends was David E. Kelly as well. I didn't recognize him, but I saw him in the credits. So, but yeah, just Cage is so good throughout, and the script is so good throughout. But I loved how weird it got towards the end, and then like the moment where he gets caught. Because I do like the occasional dreams that he would have, and because it would be like a normal scene, right? And I think the first one's with Tilda Swinton, where it's just a normal...
and then it always turns into a masturbation fantasy.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Because it happens with Tilda Swinton, and then it happens with Judy Greer, and both of them start off like normal scenes. But then suddenly they're somewhere else, and it goes, you're like, okay, so now he's just hanging out with her at the orchid show. That's kind of cute. Oh, wait a minute, this guy, what's going on here, kind of thing. So for that to all happen, and then the third time it happens in the movie, it's now Meryl Streep, because he has a dream with her too, right? When he's talking to her photo.
Yeah, sure does. Which, by the way, just think about this. Here's a screenwriter writing himself in a real situation he's in. He has to have like a real sort of working relationship with the real Susan Orlean, whose book he's adapting. And to write that scene, that is just, whew, that takes a lot of guts and a lot of something else that I can't name for him to be that ballsy to put that scene in there.
According to what I read, they did not meet while he was writing the script.
Oh, good.
He submitted the screenplay for approval, and apparently, initially, Susan Orlean was very opposed to it. And for I would say obvious reasons.
She doesn't want people to think she's actually a philandering drug addict murderer.
The one I read was at first she was concerned. But then she was reminded of how Charlie Kaufman portrays himself in the movie. And I think also probably had, this one was the one I liked. Having submitted the screenplay for approval, Orlean was strongly opposed to making of the film. She ended up reluctantly approving its production and was ultimately very impressed with the final result. In an interview in 2012, she said, reading this for the first time was just a shock. My first reaction was like, no, absolutely not. They had to get my permission, and I just said, no, you're not doing this. Are you kidding me? This will ruin my career. And according to her, they very wisely did not pressure her and say anything.
Yeah.
And they just said that, well, everyone else is on board. And she eventually decided to do it. They didn't meet, her and Kaufman didn't meet until the film was filming, and he was on set, and she came to visit, and Cage introduced the two of them. So, yeah, I can't believe to write that scene, having never met her, is madness.
Yeah, the whole thing is madness. I do wonder how much it took the sting off to find out that you would be played by Meryl Streep, right? That must have done some.
That's got to help a little bit.
Good, right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could make any movie you want about me if Meryl is playing me,
exactly. Yes. Yeah. I would, and I want to see the makeup for the beard, for sure.
I think Meryl has the range to portray me.
I think so. I'll go with Glenn Close, because I know she's worn a fake beard before. So,
yeah. What movie was that? Hook. That's right. Meryl Streep does play a man with a big beard in the HBO adaptation of the play Angels in America.
Oh.
With Al Pacino and Mary Louise Parker and Jeffrey Wright and Patrick Wilson. Wonderful miniseries on HBO. But yeah, Meryl Streep does play a rabbi at the beginning of that.
Oh, very cool.
In the very first scene. Yeah.
Love that. I also read that Cage turned down the role of Green Goblin in Spider-Man to do this movie. Which, number one, I like that if that's true. Number two, I think it was the best move for both Nic Cage and for Willem Dafoe. Because I feel like Willem Dafoe owned that role so much. Yeah. And I don't know that early 2000s Nic Cage should be Green Goblin. I think I love Nic Cage and everything. I don't think he's right for that movie. Although I have a hard time.
I have a hard time believing that he wouldn't have just totally crushed it, though.
Yeah, it's just so hard to not picture Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe is iconic, but Nic Cage would have been great, man.
I wonder if he does Spider-Man, do you think we get him as Ghost Rider a few years later? Because that was
Probably
like 05.
Probably not.
While that first Ghost Rider movie isn't great, he's fun in there, I think.
Yeah, I think he's fun. That probably wouldn't have happened. I think I'm pretty happy about the Ryan Gosling Ghost Rider casting.
You know what? I am too.
I think he's going to do a great job.
I'm very curious. I think Gosling, like Robert Pattinson, is a much better actor than people want to give him credit for at times.
Oh yeah,
and so I'm curious and very interested to see that.
Yeah.
Did you have in Adaptation? Did you have kind of anything that really stood out to you in terms of a moment where you were just like, "Whoa," or that was so well done that we maybe haven't touched on yet?
Man, there's so many. I mean, more of the just funny moments. Like the thing that made me guffaw and actually have to pause the movie, because to your earlier point, like you can't laugh for an extended period of time and hope to actually catch all the nuance in this movie. So the one part that made me pause the movie so I could collect myself was when he's saying goodbye to Amelia, his the kind of will they won't they, his friend, where there's the romantic tension, and he's watching her leave. He's like I should go, I should have kissed her, I should still kiss her, I should go and knock on the door and kiss her, that would be romantic, and we that'd be a story we could tell our kids, and you know what, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go do that right now. And then he just drives away.
It was so good
that the script is full of hilarious small things like that. But yeah. Oh, you know what we haven't touched on? More just more the cast running deep with big names in roles of all sizes. But we haven't even mentioned Maggie Gyllenhaal is in this movie.
I just
in
thought
a fairly
yeah.
in a very good role. Like,
oh, she's super fun, and I loved the fact that the time frame of this taking place during the production of Being John Malkovich, and starting the movie off with behind the scenes footage of Being John Malkovich being made, and then working in like other actors. So you got Maggie Gyllenhaal as the makeup girl. Which is wonderful. Like I loved it. And she's great. She's super fun. I really like her a lot. So that's a great one to point out because we didn't mention her, and that would have been a shame to leave her off of this because it's another one of those not on screen for very long, but very important. Especially the scene where they walk in the morning and he's making coffee and he pitches, what is it? I think it's the script is done. Or no, he hasn't finished it yet, but he's got some new idea for how to do something. And just her being like, just her energy throughout it, I thought was really great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's another one to mention. Good call on that. Amelia was part of one of my favorite moments in this, which is at the end of the movie. Because you're right, they do the whole will they, won't they throughout. And I liked that coming full circle at the end where he does shoot his shot. And he does finally get the chutzpah to kiss her. And then she asks him, like, why would you do that? And it was, once again, I'm set up for expectations, and it subverted it twice. In two different directions, because at first it's the like you can go with the tropey Hollywood ending of they end up together because he does that, but they didn't, and he's kind of following in Donald's footsteps with the like I'm gonna love her whether she does or not. And my note was like, oh, that's cute, like he does, and she doesn't have the same feelings for him, she's with somebody else now, but then for her to stop and just be like, and I love you too, and it's that there was just it was such a fulfilling moment, I think, and a perfect ending to this movie and to that relationship. Yeah. How it needed to be.
And it's not all she says. She says, I love you too, And I think that is really powerful because we talked right at the beginning of the hour about like, he doesn't know that people love him and respect him and adore him. And he does need that, despite what Donald has taught him. He does need to be loved, and to kind of feel that validation and to be reassured that he's a valuable person and he's worthy. And so just that little subtle thing, I love you too, like just that reassurance of like you should know that people love you, I think is specific, and it's there in the writing, it's there in the delivery, just beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
There's so many of those moments. Like the moment with where he gets caught seeing Susan and John having sex. They see him. He doesn't get away. And then she immediately goes to, well, we have to kill him. And it's the reaction from John, from Jonathan LaRoche of like, wait, what? No, we're not doing that. Is so perfect. And it's these like wonderful characters, because throughout the whole thing, he has been this like braggadocious and very, very loud character. And all of a sudden he's put into that situation. He's like, wait, no, we can't do that. But he follows in line.
You're supposed to be dangerous. You're supposed to be an outlaw. Like, and it's that great turn where it's like, who the fuck are you? What are you doing out there? And it's like, no, this is the screenwriter. Like, oh wait, this is the guy that's writing our book? Hey man, it's great to meet you. Like, just like that turn is so good. So he can pitch himself playing himself.
It gave me like a similar vibe to there's a great moment in Sideways where MC Gainey is chasing the guy down the street naked. And it reminded me of that scene, but like a different version of that scene. Instead of that one, which is seared into my memory forever, of seeing MC Gainey running naked down the street. It's Chris Cooper being naked and being like, oh, hey, man, nice to meet you, and reaching out for a handshake, and he's still standing there naked. It was such a weird, like, juxtaposition moment, and I loved it. I absolutely, because you're right, he flips on a dime. It's so good.
Yeah. So funny.
I have a few clips I want to play, just because there was some really funny moments in here. This one was the prosthetic they did for Cooper for his teeth. Took me a second to figure out, like, how exactly are they doing that? But it was just a piece he was wearing over top of it. And eventually I could kind of tell, but I really liked that. But you hear it here, which, as somebody who's had teeth taken out and had problems with that, this is what it would sound like. So they did a really good job with it.
I want you to know this band's a piece of shit, but when I hit the jackpot, I'll buy myself an awesome car. Hey, what are you driving?
Buy myself an awesome car. And I love it because the van is the thing that saves Charlie's life at the end. That crap van, because he can't find anything in it. And eventually that distracts her long enough for Donald to hit her with the door and them to run off. That's the only reason Charlie's still alive. So I thought that was right. That was a nice moment.
Yeah, and earlier in the movie, like at the dinner party, it's her husband that's like talking all the shit about how messy the van is.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, and this was another John moment.
I know how. I watched. I'm probably the only white guy who knows.
He's constantly saying stuff like that, like, I'm the smartest guy I know, or I'm the only white guy that knows. And he's sort of talking himself up a lot. And then by the end of the movie, the way that the story plays out, when we go away from sort of the New Yorker article, all of a sudden he doesn't know anything. And he's kind of a bumbling fool, which is the change in his character to facilitate Susan's change. It's just layered, and there's so much going on, and I loved it. I played Oblivious already, which was a good one. Let's see. Oh, this is just Nic Cage being silly.
A little push in the bush.
You're such a...
That's Donald just like making the joke, but I love Nicolas Cage moments like that where he does something real silly.
Yeah, very early 2000s for her to call him a tard.
Yes. Yeah.
Very early 2000s.
I always capture laughs. This was a pretty good one. When she decides to take the drugs, and that scene, that moment, I'm like, oh, this is her change, and she is high now. Meryl Streep just nails that whole scene. It's the perfect balance of like being really high without it being cartoonishly so, but just riding that edge. Everybody in this does that. Cage does it. She does it. Cooper is right there at that edge of like being pantomime and being too much, but never crosses it. And that's the strength, I think, of Spike Jonze, is knowing where that line is and how close you can get to it. So, yeah, loved that. And then one more, just because I talked about this earlier, but Brian Cox, everything he did was brilliant.
I'm the guy you yelled at this morning.
I need more.
Yeah. One of the other best lines for
so
sure.
Good, because he's genuinely like, yeah, that list is too long. I'm going to need more than that.
Yeah. Narrow it down some more for me, please.
But then when he tells him, and there's so many moments in this of people flipping, right? You get Meryl Streep doing it. We got Judy Greer. We mentioned Chris Cooper. And this moment for him, he goes from like almost dismissive to like, you know what? I could use a drink. Why don't you come with me? Boy?
Yeah.
Why don't you come with me, son? Let me talk to you. Let me help you out. Loved it. It's just great performances throughout from just wonderful actors.
Yep. Yeah. And there's a lot of people talk about Charlie Kaufman, like the bigness of his ideas or the concepts in his movies and the sort of technical unraveling of getting through the concept kind of bogs him down. But what he isn't as well known for, and what this movie really has, is just like, we've used this word a few times, but there's a warmth to it. The whole thing from just about every actor. Even in the third act, when we're now in like Donald's version of the script and it turns into more of a thriller, a tropey thriller, that warmth is still there. It's from characters you don't expect it from, and in relationships you're not expecting it to come out of, and it's just nice. Like, it's just nice.
It is, and I mentioned it earlier, but like the performance of Nicolas Cage in this and the performance in Leaving Las Vegas are, to me, on that same level. I will watch this movie again over Leaving Las Vegas because of that warmth. Because when this ended, I felt it was weird, but I still felt good, and like there was something uplifting about it. And Charlie in the movie at the end is on an upswing, and there's good for him going on. And yeah, I think that there's that same thing in Being John Malkovich. I know Eternal Sunshine is one of those that, like, it's weird and there's a lot of stuff going on in there, but it also has that same feel to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great choice. Where for you on sort of the Nicolas Cage movies that you have seen, you know, where would you kind of put this? Is it sort of upper tier, or is it one that you appreciate more than you like? Or vice versa?
I mean, I like this movie a lot, and I appreciate it a lot. I think I'm with you where I think it's one of the S tier Nicolas Cage performances. Like, it's, you know, it's definitely amongst his one of the ones where he gets to be subtle as well as outlandish here and there. You know, it's not full. It's never full Cage rage, and but he still gets to let his freak flag fly pretty consistently. I mean, it's as in terms of Nicolas Cage performances, I think it's one of the best. Certainly, it's up there with Leaving Las Vegas, with Pig.
Thank you. I was just about to mention Pig.
A few others. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely Nic Cage movies that I like more. That's for sure. Another one that I took way too long to see and until recently, and since you mentioned David Lynch, but I saw Wild at Heart recently. And wow, it's amazing. Have you done that on Cage-A-Palooza yet?
I did last year. I actually watched that for the first time, and same, like it's real good.
Very good. Oh wow, a really icky Willem Dafoe performance in there too. Talk about, you know, Green Goblins. But yeah, no, I mean this. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, just thinking about Willem Dafoe in that movie, I want to go take a shower, like, and just wash the grime off.
Yeah, absolutely hideous.
It's so good.
Yeah, there's nothing to dislike about this movie. You know, I went in again, mostly just knowing about the concept that it was this thing where the author of the thing is navel gazing on purpose. And I thought that the movie was going to be wrapped up in its own brilliance. And it's not. Like, it's brilliant, but Charlie Kaufman is not wrapped up in his own brilliance. Like, this movie still has all of the things that make a movie great. It's funny. The performances are wonderful. It's got the warmth we've talked about a lot.
Yep.
And it also is brilliant in the, you know, the main thing that makes it unique and weird. And no, there's really not much to dislike about it. I mean, at a certain point, I can think a movie is just about perfect, and it's still not like exactly to my taste to make it one of my very favorites. But like, I mean, there's not much bad to say about this movie. I mean, it's one that I'll probably watch in the future, but there are certain Nicolas Cage movies where it's like I'll watch them all the time, even though they're pretty much objectively not as good as this. Like, I would never stop watching Face Off. I would never stop watching The Rock. I would never stop watching Snake Eyes. I think as far as like serious quote unquote Nicolas Cage movies, Pig is probably higher up there for me.
I can see that for sure.
Yeah. But he's so good.
It's the food analogy of like, this is fine dining where you appreciate it and you really, really like it. But if it's just, hey, I want to have a meal, you're going to find it's not as, I would say that Adaptation is one of those that is incredible. It's not as accessible as some of his other movies, but the craft that went into it and all of the pieces and parts are exceptional. And it is one of his best performances. I agree with that. I'm so glad you mentioned Pig, because that is one that I adored that movie.
The other one that I love that I'll never grow tired of is The Unbearable Weight of Massive
Oh, it's
Talent,
so
which
I love that.
obviously shares a lot of DNA with this one,
Mhm.
with the sort of the meta-ness of it.
Yeah.
And then the other one from like relatively recent years would be Mandy,
Oh yes.
where it's just, I mean, that movie is so watchable and rewatchable, and the world building and his insane performance. Yeah, his career has just been too prolific for me to really pick like just a couple of favorites. But I will say this is, of the more prestigious movies that he's done, this is one of the best.
Absolutely. It's understandable why he got nominated for it, and I understand also now why it made so many lists and people would talk about it for so long. And it's kind of it's the bummer of like, why did it take me so long to see this movie? But I
Yeah.
have now, and so I can tell people about it, and I can show it to friends now. But I'm so
Oh
glad
yeah.
that you came on to talk with me about this too. And as much as I got you to watch it, you got me to watch it as well. So thank you for that.
That was mutual. Yeah.
Uh, that is a ton of fun. So, Jared, what have you got going on that you want to let people know about?
I'll always have my podcast. It's called Concessions. Consider the bigger picture. My co-host and I, he's like he's very into philosophy and history and really digging deeply into the subtext of the movie, the context of a movie, the sort of philosophical implications of a movie. And I'm there more to have a good time and dig into the craft and really nerd out. And he and I don't always see eye to eye, but we end up teaching each other things over the course of an episode. And we'll usually try to pick movies that one of us just didn't like for whatever reason, and we go in like really with a spirit of trying to get the other guy to kind of show us the error of our ways and really get us to open up the movie from a different perspective. And yeah, it's available wherever you listen to podcasts. It's called Concessions. Consider the bigger picture, and we're always doing something over there.
Excellent. And that'll be linked in the show notes. I love the concept of that because I have this feeling like you're always a different person every time you see a movie. And sometimes a movie that doesn't hit right the first time, you can come back to it and you bring all of the changes that have been in use since then. How does that now affect how you see it? Or, another way to look at it too is managing expectations and going into a movie. I always try to go into a movie and like, all right, movie, give me what you have. But there's no way to leave all of your baggage at the door. You're bringing it with you into the theater.
Yeah.
So how does that change the next time you see it? So I kind of like that you tackle it from that way and coming into it with the open mind of like, all right, show me why I'm wrong about this. Why should I maybe appreciate this more or like it more?
Exactly. And that's why the podcast is called Concessions.
Love it. Absolutely. So definitely check that out. But Jared, thank you so much for coming back on the show and kicking off Cage-A-Palooza 2026 with me. It's one of my favorite months of the year because I just decided in year one, August would be Nic Cage month. There's no other reason than it just happened to be. So here we are kicking it off. Now, next episode, next week, I have Steve and Izzy from the Everything I Learned from Movies podcast are coming on. We're going to do a Nic Cage movie called Between Worlds from 2018. I have not seen this one. I don't know much about it. The fun thing is Steve and Izzy do what they call Nick August Cage every August. And they started that on their own, and we just happened to cross paths a couple of years ago and talked about it. And it was like, wait, you do Nic Cage movies in August? Yeah. You do them? And it was just this weird thing like, why? I don't know, because it just sounded like fun. So they're going to come on. We're going to talk about that. And I'm going to be on an episode of their show for their Nick August Cage talking about gunslingers. So you'll want to check that one out. But that's what's coming up. I've got I am showing someone National Treasure for the first time.
Ooh, another one I have not seen.
That is your McDonald's of action movies. But it is comfort because it is like just this inoffensive. There's nothing wrong with it. Is it the best action movie you've ever seen or adventure movie? No. But I also will always watch it. There's just something fun about it. And the idea of I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. Like, it's such a great line. So that's what's coming up over the next couple of weeks on this show. I do this weekly because I have a problem. And I'm here every week, every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, talking about movies here. Comes out as a podcast every Wednesday. You can find all of that info at my website, tvstravis.com, which also has links to the merch store. I am, hopefully by the time this hits the feeds, we'll have a Cage-A-Palooza 2026, some merch for that. I'm working on that still. I'm a terrible.
I need a T-shirt. I will be getting a T-shirt. Make sure I get that link.
I'm a terrible graphic designer, but I'm working on it. And as soon as there's a link up, I will let you know for sure.
Thank you.
And you can also join the Patreon there, patreon.com/WYHS. That lets me continue to not only do the show, but also do the occasional live episodes that I do. I will be at Dragon Con this year doing the show live in the Hilton Galleria. I've got Tim, Jenna, and Alex from the Horse Girls podcast are going to be my guests. I'm making them all watch Project Elf for the first time. None of them have seen it. 2 of them have never seen anything elf related at all. So this will be fun. But it's the strength and the wonderful patrons that let me travel and do things like that. So if you can join the Patreon, it's as little as $5 a month. I appreciate it. It lets me do that. There are exclusive roles in the Discord and exclusive patron-only episodes as well. And if you can't, I understand. Just listening to the show is more than I could ever hope for, and thank you for that. But Jared, thank you for being here. We will do this again for sure. It's always fun talking.
Yes, please. Yeah, thanks for having me, and likewise, Travis. Can't wait to come back.
Absolutely. And until next time, just remember to enjoy your movies, however weird they may be, and let's be excellent to each other. This has been Wait You Haven't Seen.
And why the fuck are you wasting my 2 precious hours with your movie? I don't have any use for it. I don't have any bloody use for it.
Okay, thanks.
It's the okay, thanks is the perfect part at the end there.
Yeah,